Hello and welcome to Easy English Chats. I'm Paul.
And I'm Eva. Thanks so much for joining us today.
This podcast is for people who are learning English and want to listen to real, natural conversations about everyday life. So we just chat and you listen.
And hopefully you pick up some useful English along the way. We always try to speak clearly and use everyday language, so it's easy to follow.
Exactly. And today we have a really interesting topic, one that I think a lot of people can relate to.
Oh yes, I love today's topic. We're talking about living situations, specifically living alone versus living with other people.
Right. So would you rather live alone, with roommates, or with your family? What are the good things and what are the not so good things?
This is something that most people have an opinion about because almost everyone has tried at least one of these situations in their life.
Absolutely. And your feelings about it can really change over time too, can't they? What you want when you're 20 might be very different from what you want when you're 40.
So true. Okay, Paul, before we get started, where do you live right now? Do you live alone or with other people?
Well, right now I live with my partner, but I did live alone for a few years when I was in my late 20s. And I've also had roommates in the past, so I've tried a few different things. What about you, Eva?
I currently live with a roommate, a friend of mine. We share a flat together, and I have to say, most of the time it works really well. But we can talk about that more in a minute.
Great, let's get into it. So let's start with living alone. Eva, have you ever lived alone?
I have, yes, for about a year when I first moved to a new city for work. And I have really mixed feelings about it, honestly.
Mixed feelings, meaning some good and some bad.
Exactly, yeah. Some things were great and some things were really hard.
Let's talk about the good things first. What did you love about living alone?
Oh, the freedom. That was the best part. You can do whatever you want, whenever you want. If I wanted to stay up late and watch a film, no problem. If I wanted to eat dinner at 10 o'clock at night, fine. Nobody could say anything about it.
Yes, that's the big one, isn't it? You're completely in charge of your own space.
Completely. And the quiet. I really valued the quiet. When you live with other people, there's always some kind of noise, music or TV or someone talking on the phone. But when you live alone, if you want silence, you can have silence.
That's such a good point. I'm actually quite a quiet person myself, so I really appreciated that when I lived alone. I could come home after a long day at work and just decompress. Nobody needing anything from me.
Yes, you can just be by yourself. And I think that is so important for some people. Some people really need that alone time to recharge.
Absolutely. And you're in control of everything. The temperature, the cleaning schedule, what food is in the fridge. Everything is exactly how you like it.
Oh, the fridge. When you live alone, nobody eats your food. I cannot tell you how important that is.
A very serious issue. But okay, what about the hard parts? What were the downsides of living alone for you?
Loneliness. That was the hardest part for me personally, especially in the beginning when I didn't know many people in the city. I would come home, close the door, and just feel very alone.
That's really honest. I felt that too. It's strange because during the day you might be around lots of people at work, but then you come home and there's complete silence and it can feel quite empty.
Yes, exactly. And there's nobody to talk to, no one to share your day with. You can call someone on the phone, of course, but it's not the same as having someone actually there.
And the cost, right? Living alone is expensive. When you share a place with someone, you split the rent, you split the bills, electricity, internet, all of that. But when you live alone, you pay for everything yourself.
100%. That's a big one. I was paying so much in rent every month, it was quite stressful, to be honest.
And all the chores are yours too. The cleaning, the shopping, taking out the rubbish. There's nobody to share those jobs with.
Oh, yes. When everything is your responsibility, it can feel like a lot. Some weekends, I would spend so much time just cleaning and doing laundry.
Okay, so let's talk about roommates. You currently live with a friend. How is that going for you?
Overall, I think it's really good. Living with a friend has a lot of advantages. The biggest one, as you mentioned, is the cost. We split the rent, we split the bills. It makes a huge difference financially.
That's the practical side, yes. But what about the social side?
The social side is really nice too. I have someone to talk to when I get home. We cook dinner together sometimes. We watch TV. We chat about our days. It makes the flat feel much more lively and warm.
It can feel more like a home, I think, when there are other people there.
Exactly. It doesn't feel so empty. And if something goes wrong, say something breaks in the flat, you're not dealing with it alone. You have someone to help you, or at least to figure it out together.
That's a really good point. I remember when I had a problem with the heating in my old flat, I was so glad I had a roommate to help sort it out.
Right. But okay, it's not always perfect. There are challenges with roommates too.
Oh, for sure. I think the biggest one is different habits. Everyone has different ways of doing things, different ideas about cleaning, about noise, about having guests over.
Yes, and if those habits are very different, it can cause tension. I've been lucky. My roommate and I are quite similar in how we like to live. But I've heard stories from friends who had really difficult roommate situations.
Me too. I had one roommate years ago who was lovely as a person, but our lifestyles were just very different. He liked to stay up very late, play loud music, have lots of people over at the weekends, and I was more of a quiet, early to bed type.
Oh no, that sounds hard.
It was difficult, yeah. We managed, but it wasn't the most relaxing environment to come home to. And I think the key thing with roommates is communication. You really need to talk openly about how you both want to live.
I totally agree. My roommate and I talked a lot about expectations before we moved in together. Things like cleaning schedules, how often guests could stay over, how quiet the mornings should be. It sounds very formal, but it actually helped a lot.
That's really sensible advice. Set the rules early before small things become big problems. Now, let's talk about the third option, living with family. This is something that's very common in many cultures around the world. Eva, what do you think about living with family?
I think it really depends on the family, but seriously, I think it can be wonderful or it can be very difficult.
Tell me more. What are the good parts?
Well, family can offer so much support. If you're having a hard time, maybe you lost your job or you're going through something emotionally difficult, having family around is really comforting. You're not alone. There are people who care about you right there.
Absolutely. And again, the financial side. In many cities, rent is so expensive. Living with family can help people save money, especially when they're young and just starting out.
Yes. And there's a sense of community, I think. Shared meals, shared routines. It can feel very stable and grounding.
I know a lot of people who move back to their family home as adults, especially during difficult times, and they said it actually brought them much closer to their parents or siblings, which is a really nice thing.
That's sweet, but then there are also challenges, right? Privacy is the big one for me. When you live with family, it can be hard to have your own private space. People might ask where you're going, when you'll be home, who you're seeing.
Yes, especially if you're an adult who is used to living independently, going back to family rules after living on your own can be quite an adjustment.
And sometimes there are just old habits from childhood that come back. You might feel like you're a teenager again, even though you're an adult.
I think a lot of people relate to that. You sit down at the family dinner table and suddenly everyone is asking you questions and it feels like you're 16 again.
Exactly. But I think with good communication and mutual respect, living with family as an adult can work really well. It's all about adjusting expectations on both sides.
So, having thought about all of this, what's your ideal living situation, Eva, if you could choose anything?
That's a good question. I think for right now, I like living with my roommate. The balance of company and independence feels right for where I am in my life. But I can imagine that in the future, maybe in 5 or 10 years, I'd like to have my own place, just to have that space that is truly mine.
That makes sense. And I think our ideal situation really does change over time. When I was in my early 20s, I loved having roommates. It was fun and social. Then when I was older, I really wanted that quiet, private space. And now living with my partner feels exactly right.
It's interesting, isn't it? There's no one perfect answer. It really depends on your personality, your life stage, and what you need at that moment.
Totally. I think if you're someone who gets energy from being around people, what some people call an extrovert, then living alone might feel quite isolating. Whereas if you're more of an introvert, someone who needs quiet time to recharge, then having your own space is really important.
And of course, money plays a big role. Many people don't choose to live alone simply because it's too expensive. It's not always about preference, sometimes it's about what's possible.
That's a really honest point. In a lot of big cities, the rent is so high that living alone is just not realistic for most people. Sharing is the practical choice.
And you know what? I actually think there's something nice about that. When you're pushed into sharing a space with someone, you learn so much. You learn about compromise, about patience, about communication. These are really valuable life skills.
I couldn't agree more. I genuinely think living with different people at different points in my life made me a much better person, more understanding, more flexible.
Yes. Okay, one last question before we finish up. If you could give one piece of advice to someone who is about to move in with a new roommate for the first time, what would you say?
Oh, good question. I would say talk before you move in. Have an honest conversation about how you both like to live. It might feel awkward, but it will save you so much trouble later.
I love that. Mine would be patient and be kind. Living with someone is a big adjustment, and there will be moments that are frustrating. But if you approach it with patience and kindness, most problems can be worked out.
Perfect advice. I think those two things together, good communication and kindness, can make almost any living situation work.
Well, that's all for today's episode of Easy English Chats. We hope you enjoyed our conversation about living alone versus living with other people.
We talked about the freedom and the quiet of living alone, the social side and the shared costs of living with roommates, and the support and comfort of living with family.
And of course, there's no right or wrong answer. It really depends on who you are and what you need right now in your life.
If you're learning English, we hope today's conversation gave you some useful words and phrases to practice. Things like talking about pros and cons, expressing agreement and disagreement, and comparing different options.
Thank you so much for listening. It really means a lot to us that you spend your time with us.
We'll be back soon with another easy, chatty conversation. So until next time,
Keep listening, keep learning, and take care of yourselves.
bye for now.
Bye.